Yeah, what up, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Discord, maybe all the chats. Big up all the Telegram channels, man. I gotta salute the Anons. Shout out to all my DJs, and we are back again for another Docs Radio banger. You know what it is, realest recruiter in the game. So put some respect on my name, like it, tweet it, share it with somebody who needs to see. You know the vibes. I got my man in the building, my boy, one of my first, single digit crypto homies.
Damn.
My guy, Nate Bekerman, had a product at STATION70. My guy, what's up, Nate?
Thank you,
welcome.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Hell yeah, thanks for coming through. This is a long time coming, my guy.
Yeah, long time coming, long road. Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. Dude, it's nice. You know, I was just thinking before you pulled up, like on the last couple of episodes that I've done, did Jenna Pilgrim.
That's right.
Coin Fun. I
Saw
did
it. Banger.
Banger, classic. I did Kyle, another classic.
Yeah.
And like, dude, what it made me think is like, it's if I look back at the earlier episodes of the first episodes of the podcast, this is me forming relationships with people for the first time. And like learning about whatever they're pitching or whatever it is. Right. But like now I'm at a place 4 years later where it's like now we have years in this game together, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's really cool to just watch these organic relationships build over time. I of course have to start by just thanking you, bro, for being a good friend and supporter of me from literally day one, man.
Of course, bro. Of course. You know, it's funny, crypto, the industry, the way it works is like, you know, when you first get in, you're in elementary school and you're just making friends. You don't know anyone. You don't know what crew you want to be with, what clique.
What lunch table.
Right, what lunch table you want to sit at. And then you get a little bit older. It's your first bull market. You're in high school. You know, you think you're the cool guy in town. Everything's good. You made a little money.
You watch that shit go to zero and you be like, all right, let me humble myself real quick.
Exactly. And then now it feels like, you know, you graduate college and it's like, all right, I know who the homies are. I know who I'm friends with. I know who I'm tight with. I have a network. I don't even need to sign up for the side events at the conferences anymore. You know?
I mean,
that's a flex.
Nah, I don't even see. Okay, it sounds like kind of like pompous when you say it like that, but it is the truth. It is the truth. And like, that's not necessarily, I mean, the goal, but it is nice when that happens. Like, you know, for anyone watching, Nate's in town in New York for the Solana Accelerate conference. Shout out Solana. And I absolutely love the idea of blockchain in America, supporting American crypto.
100%.
Beautiful thing. But yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, today, could I have gone to the conference? Yeah, I could have. But like, I know who my people are. When you've put in the work and earned those relationships, not just built them organically, but like you've proven your worth to the greater community. Like, sure. I know that my people are going to take care of me and share whatever insights come from that conference or whatever. Now, like, do I love being a part of like the event and being deep in there in the trenches? It's awesome. But I mean, this is a fucking lot of these conferences, bro.
Yeah. I'm curious what your top 3 are, actually.
Top 3 conferences?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
is that a tough question?
No, it shouldn't be. I think like I personally really like Token in Singapore is definitely one for me.
Okay.
Token in Singapore.
Interesting.
I feel like I have to say ETH Denver, even though like I hate that I go there every year.
Yeah.
It's the best conference in the U.S. Like, I don't know if that's debatable. Do you think it's debatable?
In the U.S., you know, consensus when it was in Austin. This year it was in Toronto, obviously.
But here's the thing. Like, as new conferences pop up every year, like someone got to take a hit. Like, respect. I love Blockworks. I hope Permissionless is a banger this year, but it has not been for the last couple of years. My first year, I think maybe around the time when we first met, was the first Permissionless in West Palm Beach. That was a banger.
Yes.
That was a great conference.
Yes.
I guess if I had to just pick top 3, it would be Token, ETH Denver, and Breakpoint. But there's nuances to each. Like, I'm definitely not going to Breakpoint this year. I have zero interest in going to the Middle East. I'm sorry. Yeah. Respectfully, like, it's just not on my... You know what I mean?
Isn't it interesting how crypto is a conference-based industry?
It's hard to take that seriously sometimes, bro. It's true, but I don't know how I feel about it. You?
Well, I just think, I don't know, probably since COVID, this is true for every industry, but in crypto it was always the case. It's like, everyone's remote. You don't meet anyone in person. When you're a relationship-based, you know, product... You kind of have to go to these conferences eventually to build up. Like, there's only so close you can get with someone on a Zoom call. I've closed deals in person at a conference that were taking me months to close because of, you know, just takes time. And then when you get to someone,
they had to see the sauce in real life, bro. They had to feel the swag.
And you want to feel the person. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, do I trust this person? At the end of the day, you know, in sales, it's a cliche saying. It's like people buy from people they like. You know what I mean? And you can't really get to know someone and like someone on a Zoom call. Really hard to get that done. But, over lunch, dinner, drinks, whatever it might be, you can get to know the person. You can talk about other topics, non-crypto related, and be like, oh, I like this person.
For sure. I mean, actually, in our case, like, we had a rapport from like LinkedIn DMs from very, very early. And I specifically remember the first time meeting you in person. And it was
Miami,
like,
right?
It was actually in New York at, I forget what the event was. It was in New York. You came up to me and you gave me a compliment that I always cite as like one of the nicest and like most impactful things anyone said to me, which is like, I've seen you doing the LinkedIn content, like from when you had 1 to 3 likes on every post and you kept going. And I just like really respect the perseverance. So that meant a lot to me because that was some of the like times where you question yourself the most. You know what I mean? Like, am I doing this right? What am I doing wrong? Why is it not blah, blah, blah? So we're definitely going to have that conversation about you at some point today. But like, let's stay here on the conference thing for now. And where I want to go with it is like, so true. I agree with you when you say like, having that opportunity to connect and build trust in person, of course, like valid. And I think if you are a mature professional, like, I don't know why I chose those words, but I'll stand on them. If you're a mature professional, like you probably can have the discipline to distinguish when and where to like do these conferences, right? But like the problem is we work in this really young industry with a lot of like people who are, in their early 20s and we really get the boundary, the gray area between social life and professional life, which is fun. And I absolutely love that, but it's easy to get lost in that. And I think a lot of people just don't have the discipline to distinguish the two. And so these conferences just become like, who's invited to the coolest, like ETH Bushwick party or whatever. And like, that's dope. And like, I have friends too, you know what I mean, in this space and I'm proud of it. But I worry that like, that distracts a lot of people from like progress that we as an industry need to feel.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of layers in what you just said. Yeah, a lot of layers, because someone who's not in crypto was asking me, hey, you went to a crypto conference, are you having fun? And people don't understand, in Web 2 or in finance or whatever you want to call it, TradFi, etc., conferences are not fun. You're meeting people. There's no night events usually. Maybe there's a dinner, right? The conferences are like going booth to booth. Crypto is not like that at all. Part of it is connecting with people, and the other part of it is like feeling out your surroundings, right? It's constantly meeting new people. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I've seen people lose it where they take it to the extreme and they can't differentiate between work and play in crypto. It's one of the marquee like core principles of crypto, I think, in this industry. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is holding us back from graduating a little bit, right?
I think there's too much partying and I feel so like lame as hell for saying this,
boomer.
But but it's the real deal. Like, bro, you're not actually, you know what? Like the flip side, can be true around like the purpose of the conference, meaning like, bro, sometimes we go to these conferences and see some people, meet them in real life and be like, you are not a serious person.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's true.
I actually don't want to do business with you now.
In every company, people probably say that, the BD guys are just at conferences not doing anything. I'm sure there's some truth to that. When you meet some people, like you said, you kind of don't want to do deals with them. They're like, they strike you the wrong way. I've seen people that are excessive with, party too much. And it's like, do you really want to do a deal with them? Do you want that market maker? Do you want, you know what I mean?
Pivot here. Question I want to ask you is like, how much of that energy that we just described is present in like the everyday Miami crypto scene, another place where easy to get lost in the vibes and lost in the sauce. Yeah. And also adding to that, I guess, you've been in crypto for what class are you?
2017.
So you've seen the Miami scene change and evolve over the years, just like we're seeing the New York crypto scene really like peak right now, it feels like. Yeah. So curious, why don't you tell me about like the vibes in Miami and how that's evolved over the years?
Yeah, Miami has gone through a weird cycle, I think. If you remember, the mayor of Miami was taking a salary in Bitcoin. That was peak Miami. Yeah. That was peak Miami. That was 2021.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
That was peak Miami.
Like Bitcoin Miami in 2021 was so fire. That was my first year. I was like, God damn, like what? Yes. This is wild.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah. Miami, obviously there was the huge influx of New Yorkers in general to Miami, a lot of crypto people. naturally were there. So the scene grew. Some people have left. There are some really good cornerstones of the Miami crypto scene. Shout out the Port. You've been to the Port?
I haven't, but everyone
You've heard about it.
Yeah. Bro, I haven't heard. I've heard nothing but 10 out of 10 fire reviews on the Port, and much love to the Jito guys that I know are a big part of that.
Yeah, very big part of that. It's a great space. I think what's missing, there's no place. Miami is is not a walking city, right? So everyone's driving everywhere. It's a lot more separate. So it's harder to have like a scene. But at the same time, everyone still outside of Miami thinks there's a bigger scene than there actually is, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking to someone who's whatever, New York, California, or Atlanta, and they're like, "Oh, you're a Miami crypto guy," classic. They think it's but it's not really like that.
Right. It felt like in 2021 it kind of was.
Yes.
But I guess, what do you think is the reason why it's changed? And how would you articulate like what has changed?
There's not a lot of devs in Miami. I think
true.
that's the main blocker.
That's so weird. It's true. That's a good point. I never thought about that. Why?
I don't know why. I think it's like it's a city full of extroverts, I think. That's my gut instinct.
That's so true. Devs are introverts that are going to be intimidated by the Miami energy.
Exactly. And the big cars and the flashy, like, that's not a city for me. That's just a hot take. Honestly, I just thought about that now.
I think that makes I tend to, without having a deep dive on it, and like, obviously for me, someone who recruits devs for a living for 4 years, I can name on one hand maybe like Miami devs that I've placed. Yeah.
But it's all the BD guys are there.
Bitcoin traders.
Yeah, Bitcoin right. People who are like, don't want a real job, kind of do. They're in crypto.
Classic Miami. Classic Miami.
Classic Miami.
Yeah.
Classic Miami.
Well, the New York scene like has never it's obviously it's New York. There's always like energy or whatever, but like I think we're at our peak right now as far as like Web3 in New York.
Do you think it ever goes anywhere? Is it only up from here or New York? Or
I mean, here's the thing. Contrary to what you just said about Miami, like New York is a place where you come to work.
Yeah.
Like I wake up every day looking at that skyline and I'm like, okay, I got to get to it today because there's however many million people about to beat me to the bag. Yeah. And that's like embedded in us here. You'll find a good social circle for any, honestly, like introvert, extrovert, whatever. Like you can find your people, especially if you're obviously in our community.
Yeah.
And you can also find the motivation to like get shit done. I'm excited about like the state of New York crypto right now.
Is there like crypto co-working spaces in New York?
Yeah.
Is
that there's the one that everyone talks about is called the Brass Factory.
Really?
In Brooklyn. Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's like a renovated, like quite literally like a brass factory. It's a couple floors and like, dude, like honestly, I could name you 15 clients of mine that work there.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's nice. They do a lot of like,
events, whatever.
Yeah, like casual happy hours after work. That's what you
you need.
Yeah, and I think I gotta of course shout out the homie, the OG's Empire DAO, man.
Nice.
That had a great run, Mike. Yeah. That was a cool and it didn't like pan out exactly what they wanted it to be. There was another project called like Station something. It wasn't Station 70, Station something else that came after it to try to do Empire DAO in Manhattan.
Oh, Station 3.
Station 3.
Someone yesterday confused me with Station 3.
Yeah, that'll happen.
And I was like, 3? I didn't have no idea about that.
It had a moment where people thought this was going to pop, and it didn't get anywhere near the traction that Mike did. So Brass Factory is, I like it because it's not this whole like decentralized work, it's just a co-working space. Right. You know what I mean? Like that's all you need.
That's it.
It's just a place for the homies to come together and get shit done.
Maybe this is actually another reason why Miami and New York are so different. In Miami, it's a lot more common to actually work from home. Like people have office setups in their house.
Right.
In New York, I feel like that's not common. There's space for that. That's
true. That's true. In New York, there are a lot of people. I mean, I can't relate to this, bro, because this ain't me. But there's a lot of people that prefer, maybe it's because they live in such bum-ass little... I didn't even think about that. That's definitely the reason, bro. That's definitely the reason. I just had to hit the shots fired on him.
Boom, boom.
Damn, bro. Some of y'all need to like hit a TGE and move into something nice, bro, with an office. But I do think a lot of it's really common in New York to have an office, but you don't have to come in every day type shit. Which is like, to me, I think like that's great. I mean, still, I'm never going to an office, but that's love that for you.
I don't know. Do you? Maybe that's an interesting question. Like when people ask, when you're repping your company, It's like, do you have an office or not have an office? Do you think that carries weight?
Like, do I think candidates like really care about that?
Candidates or
like as a flex, like we have a New York City. Hell no, I think they think it's a flex.
Yeah. That's so
maybe it's more of a flex for like clients or people that you're trying to come to my office and have a meeting with me. Right. But like,
because a lot of people ask this question. When I'm talking about STATION70, they're like, where are you based? I'm like, everywhere.
Yeah, decentralized.
Yeah.
On the internet. Like,
we're fully remote.
Yeah.
Like,
but let me ask you, and this is a good transition to our next topic, but like, as someone who comes from the TradFi-ish world, I'll call it, and we'll get into what that means in a minute.
Sure.
As someone who comes from a more traditional background, do you think that like putting your Cross River hat back on, if you had to like do business with a company and they were like, you were like, we don't have an office, would you like look down upon them?
No, I mean, I think it's just a sign of the style of company that you're talking to. It's a sign of like potentially the maturity, because it doesn't matter if you're a mature company, let's say mature like 100+ employees, you're gonna have at least one office. I just feel like it happens.
Right.
If you're running a lean startup, you can always be remote, right? And if that's all you're doing, right? So I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure I feel strongly either way, to be honest.
I'll tell you, like, I'll just fire another little
chill.
Bro, there's one company that I was gonna work with as a client, EtherFi, and they're like, oh yeah, we're only hiring in person. They're like, there has to be in one of our offices, and I was like, okay, where's your offices, bro? Their offices are in like Denver, Toronto, Dubai, and like the Cayman Islands. And I'm like, yo, who the fuck wants to work in any of these places? Like, absolutely not, bro. Fuck out of here. So come to New York, come to Miami. Yeah. That's about it at this point, honestly. Let's move on. So I think one thing I wanted to ask you, as I mentioned, come from like your last job was Cross River. Why don't you tell them like what Cross River is, what your role is? Tell us a little bit about the experience of being, let's, for the sake of this conversation, call it Web 2.5, kind of, I don't want to say fringe crypto, but like crypto, but not like deep like you are now. Yeah,
I mean, we have to differentiate one thing here, which is like the company that I was at, and, you know, I was just a closet degen.
You were the crypto guy.
Right. But, you know, Cross River, great company, is a bank, a traditional FDIC bank, based in New Jersey. Shout out to New Jersey.
Big Jersey, big Jersey.
It's mostly a fintech bank. So it works with fintech companies like Affirm, Stripe, Coinbase is a customer as well. Nice. And they basically do like embedded finance. And I was there for 3-ish years building out crypto products in the crypto business there.
And so what can you share with us, you know, like obviously us, you know, like community members of like how those people, this is so bad.
Those bankers?
Yeah. Like how do, I guess, what's a discrepancy that you think like we don't understand about how those people think and engage with us? You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's a good question.
My bad. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's a good question. I think we're past the point of people who are not, let's say, in crypto or crypto holders personally. We're past the point where they think that everything in crypto is just smoke and mirrors, right? I think stable coins have reached, you know, mass market adoption or on their way to that. Everyone who's, you know, crypto adjacent, anything finance related, they understand crypto now. The problem that they have, if you put yourself in your shoes, is like, you know, look at the stuff that's in our industry, like Fart Coin. And so they bulk everything together. And it's like, hey, crypto has a lot of scams. And so for them, it's very difficult to decipher truth from fiction.
Honestly, sometimes for us, it can be difficult.
100%. That is the truth of our industry. And so the easiest thing for them to do is to ignore everything, right? Because that's how they say, hey, at least, you know, I'm safe. Like, I didn't onboard this company that, you know, stole everyone's money tomorrow. So that is how people think. It takes time. Dealing with banks takes time. If you're selling products to bank, it takes time. If you are, you know, trying to onboard with a bank, everyone knows opening a bank account with a bank, it takes time. It's not easy, but this is the nature of the beast.
I mean, dude, it takes time with Coinbase Institutional too. It takes time with all these, and I take that as a positive sign, bro.
Right.
You know, people that like are caring about their work, right? But as the native crypto guy working at a bank, I mean, what were some of the challenges or things you wished you could have implemented but maybe weren't able to? all respect to crossover, this ain't to dump on anyone.
Yeah.
We know they operate that way for a reason. But as the crypto native guy in a corporate organization like that, I guess, how did it affect you?
This is not specific to crossover, actually. In any corporate setting, let's say you're the crypto champion, you have to do a lot of, the corporate word stakeholder management, right? Don't you like that one?
I hate that one. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, stakeholder management.
Yeah.
You basically have to manage people's expectations and convince them in a one-on-one setting, so then in the meeting, when there's a bigger meeting, they don't shit on you. That takes so much time because there's so many people and they all have different concerns. It's a security concern. The people have the compliance concern. And, this is just true in corporate America.
Sure.
Right? You have to, if you are a true believer in whatever crypto project you're building at that company, you have to basically sit one-on-one and go through the, blockchain 101. This is why this technology is interesting. This is what's valuable to us. This is the opportunity that we have. And this...
After a while, it sounds like it could get exhausting.
That is what happens to most people.
Yeah.
But...
That makes sense.
Honestly, it's needed work.
Yeah.
It's
doing God's work out there. Yeah. And I hope that, I guess, like, last question on this topic, I guess, can you see the impact of the work that you've done? Like, obviously you're not there anymore, but can you see the lasting impact of you having those conversations?
100%. It's changed the organization, and people, on a personal level and on a corporate level, have made decisions. One that is impactful to me is like, I brought someone who's not a crypto native at all to my team, and I spoke to him recently, and he said, I only want to work in crypto now.
Nice.
That was like, I baptized him.
Pastor Nate.
Actually, he calls me his rabbi. It's crypto rabbi.
Amazing.
But yeah.
All right. So I'm tracking now. So you're doing God's work at Cross River. You're baptizing everyone. Putting the holy water and all that. And knowing you for a while, like you've for quite a while, like had the itch to go deeper. Obviously, you weren't, since you were at a bank, you weren't where you wanted to be, but you were still at a really good place. What I saw from you was when is the timing going to be perfect? And I think maybe you realize timing is never going to be perfect. Yeah. So walk me through that transition decision and maybe any advice you would give to anyone in that predicament.
Timing is definitely never perfect for any change, for that matter. But what I think you can find that is near perfect is the situation, right? You have to find the best situation. So I think what made sense to me, I guess, was I wanted a role where I had complete ownership, where I could do product and BD, and I wanted to be able to spend time with both the customers and the engineers, right? And I wanted to be, honestly, on the ground floor, but an executive at the company. I got lucky, I got lucky by landing at STATION70. Speaking of networks and meeting people, the CEO of STATION70 is someone who I knew for 3+ years, actually. How many times do you know, well, this is actually your business, that people hire someone that they know, right? And they've met before. Does that happen often?
Yeah, I would say so.
But you're connecting them. You make the
dude, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten paid by introducing people that already know each other.
Exactly.
Which is nice. Shout out to you guys.
Right.
Exactly. But yeah, I can think of a few examples of it's any success, when you meet a good founder who's a fucking killer.
Yeah.
This is those people that you're just I have blind loyalty. Whatever he does, I'm down, and there's a few of those. And that's when they just call their people and is boom, boom. The core team is there, and then it's okay, Dan, now supplement me with your people. It happens because it's an effective and it's the best case scenario, honestly.
Yeah. Well, as the industry grows, naturally there's more and more of this, and it also depends on the role, I think, right? The more senior the role, the harder it is for the founder
to be able to trust someone off the street. That's true,
100%. And I think that's what happens.
Yeah. What made you feel okay, you had the inherent relationship with the founder CEO of STATION70.
Yeah.
You had you've been around for a while. You've seen a lot of projects, met a lot of people. You could have done other things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what made STATION70 appealing to you? And why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is and what you're working on over there?
Yeah. We won't get too into details there, but while I was at Cross River, one of the major problems around building crypto products at a bank is around the key security, basically. I realized in that development, there was a huge pain point, and specifically around something that a lot of people in, let's say, retail crypto are not very keen or aware of. It's called disaster recovery, right? So basically, anyone who's a custodian has their primary keys or their primary wallet that they're using every day in their business, and then they have backup keys to make sure if anything happens to the primary keys, they can get access to them, to the assets. And so Station70 is primarily, it's a security company, but our first product is called Bunker, basically helps companies store those backup keys in a safe, compliant way where they always have access and only the right people have access, and everything you would imagine of a service like that, basically.
Cool. And you're working on something else as well?
Yeah, we've been in the market for about a year with that product. It's been going really well, and a lot of demand from our customers are like, hey, why don't you do this for my personal wallets, right? Like, how many DGens out there? How many wallets do you think you have? Honestly,
you're asking the wrong guy, but I can count on one hand. But like, okay. I know how other.
You know how it is.
Yeah, I know.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
So that's a problem that I had personally.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I probably have between 20 and 30 wallets myself.
Yeah.
And where people,
why though? Like, why the fuck you have 20 wallets?
For every new chain, every different wallet, you want to interact with this something, you need a different wallet, and then at least you can think of like, then you're using an old wallet, you want to try Rainbow Wallet, you want to try Phantom, whatever.
It just happens.
It just happens naturally. And so everyone's like putting their seed phrases away, and it's not really in the best way. And then this is when I really had the aha moment. I'm married. My wife has nothing to do with crypto. She has no idea what a seed phrase is. Okay. And then every time I get on a plane, I text her and I say, hey, here are where the seed phrases are. If anything happens to me, because the plane started crashing, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just make sure, because like now, I've got real money on chain.
Word.
And I don't want that to just disappear if I die. And so every flight, I would text her and be like, hey, these are where the seed phrases are. This is what you need to do. There's instructions, and you need to grab those instructions and then hit up my friend who is crypto native and is going to help you what to do with those seed phrases.
Nice.
And I was like, this is not. When I realized that was not a good system, basically, so we're building a mobile-based disaster recovery and legacy system for individual.
And this doesn't really exist right now?
No, it doesn't. Believe it or not. It's a really niche. It's a hard problem to solve if you think about it, because you have your private keys or your seed phrases. You don't want to give it to anyone before you die, because then they can get hacked or they can take your money, or there's plenty of others. So you only want to give it to them when you die or when you're impaired or whatever, when some disaster happens. So it's a hard problem to solve. And then in general, no one wants to hold keys for people because it's a security risk. So it's a hard problem to solve, but we're coming out with a product called Foundation. Nice. Specifically for this problem.
Like, I definitely see obviously the use case is pretty obvious, right? And it definitely sounds like a product like, the most deepest of DGen users would need, and also the most like passive casual like crypto user like me would also like benefit from as well. I actually double down and dig into businesses that are not necessarily chasing the sexy shiny object in the room. Like, you're not at AI blockchain right now,
TG,
exactly. But on the flip side of that is, like, although there's an obvious reason why people should care, I feel like it's a hard thing to make people excited about or care about enough. So is that one of your bigger challenges?
For sure. I think security in general, security companies, you look at all security,
of course,
they all have a tough time with this. Because security is boring, right?
And it feels like to make them care, like I mean, it is what it is. You have to scare them a little bit. You have to like make them feel the fear of God and be like, all right, wait, actually,
Yes, for sure. I guess one analogy for this in my mind is like when you go to buy a new iPhone, you don't leave the store without a case. Why is that? Because you've dropped the phone before and cracked it, and you're like, I do not want that to happen to me, right? So I think it's kind of the same thing, by the way, every time there's a hack, which happens all the time, and someone loses funds, companies and people become security aware, and then natural human psychology, then it passes, and then they stop caring, right? And then they come back to it.
So do you feel like you got to be timed to like hit that like right when the disaster happens?
Definitely. I mean, on the institutional side, thankfully, most of the companies we work with either have a security conscious champion or they have CISOs, they have, the security teams, and those people are paid to worry about this, right? And so that's a different set of issues. On the individual like retail side of things, it is important, but we think of how many people have wills or trusts. People think about it, but a lot of times it's too late and they never do anything about it.
Or they think about it, but maybe don't assign the right value to this problem to where it's like, oh,
I should do something about it now.
Yeah, or like, oh, like, cool, I see that Station70 bunker has like the solution I need, but it costs a little too much. I think I'm just going to like roll the dice. You know what I mean? It's like,
that is a challenge for sure. This is one of the things that we are gearing up to do once this product launches is market in the right way. Marketing crypto is not easy.
You can do it bad very easily, but like like effective marketing,
exactly.
and especially like there are some products that are just inherently easier to market because they attach into the current hot narrative, and that's what people do. That's how they market. They attach their product into whatever the fuck people are talking about. Slap XYZ keyword, and that's it. But this is like something that you have to like make people feel uncomfortable enough to care about. And so like that's a very like psychological type of marketing,
Yeah, it's true. But what I've found when I talk about it with people, this product specifically, there's different segments of crypto people, degens or crypto natives, right? There's different segments. There's a specific segment that does care a lot about this.
Oh, right? For sure.
And every time I bring it up, they're like, "Oh, I'm signing up tomorrow," right? So there is kind of this, the 20-year-old degen that's trading meme coins out of his parents' closet probably cares less about safety and security.
You know what you should do, bro? You should hire a hacker to rob his ass and then be like, yo, I got you, though. But I'm going to give it back to you. But just know, I got you.
We would never do that.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But yes, that's exactly it. I mean, people are starting to care more and more about it. But, it's...
Yeah. Leading into my next point, we touched earlier about my content journey, right? Where, I mean, it's a similar thing. Like, recruiting is not something that people care to talk about or think about. One of my challenges that I faced in the beginning was like, how do I make this cool? How do I make this like acceptable within the inner like circles that don't care about shit like this? They want to focus on like solving cool problems or whatever, but like, how do I like make it palatable, I guess is the right word. How do I make this a palatable thing? When you're talking online, and I've seen you experimenting with different formats. I've seen your like short form, like almost tweet style LinkedIn posts. I've seen some longer form stuff. I've seen the holding the camera up and doing that. I've seen you doing long form podcasts. So you're trying these different formats. You're getting the feedback in real time. But again, it's hard to know how to receive the feedback sometimes because you're like, have I reached a big enough sample size? And all that kind of stuff. So walk me through like your current content strategy and what you've learned up until this point.
Yeah. I mean, so much to talk about, but I think in general, the approach that I've taken is every day is a new day, and I'm just going to keep going at it, and then you'll see what sticks sort of approach. I think, in crypto, and specifically in crypto LinkedIn or LinkedIn crypto, whatever you want to call it, is a small little corner of, right? Because it's like everyone's on X or Twitter or whatever, but LinkedIn has its own... Right, it's its own segment of crypto people.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's something there. They're not gonna like you're not gonna feel the impact the same way, but they're in there. And you also get, I think the most obvious thing that you get is the Web 2 people that are actually dying to get in, or like they actually have such great Web 2 jobs that they don't even need to work professionally in crypto, but they're there watching you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and of course you also get the Web 2 companies that are starting to do stuff in Web 3 and need to talk. And that's why for security, that is an area where we do well. I'll start with the bottom line up front. What I've found, recently after, many months of experimenting is similar to what you were saying, and similar to the beginning of our conversation, is people want to connect, and in order to connect with someone, they have to like you. They have to be personable. So to make it palatable, my stuff is security, your stuff is recruiting. To make it palatable, it has to be either funny or educational or informative, right? Like, people don't want to just see you shilling a product, right? Because that is boring. No one's reading that. The approach that I've taken is I either have to make someone laugh or make someone, after they read that, is something that they can bring up in their next meeting. Like, oh, did you know this? And they sound smart.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, I'm bringing some value to you.
Also, okay, I agree with that. Also, look, I mean, everyone's got a different style and tactics that are going to work for them. Trust me, I know that some of my unconventional, the shit that I do, like, it ain't for everyone.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
Spicy takes.
Yeah, but look, there's a concept that I learned after the fact of doing this, that I was actually doing, which is called depositioning, right?
Okay.
There's positioning, and then there's depositioning. Depositioning meaning, like, this is who I'm not. You know what I mean? This is who Up Top is not for. This is how I'm not like them.
Right.
You know? And, like, look, I took it too far many times, and this is, like, something that, honestly, I had to, like, calibrate and learn along the way and receive feedback. And I got burned a few times, like, by just doing too much, and people being like, yo, I don't know if this is a person I want to do business with based on how you're communicating on fucking LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, all right, you know what? Let me chill. But I still sometimes I just can't help myself. Sometimes I just can't help myself. But, like, there's still, like, a lot of value in what I did in separating myself.
For
right?
sure.
And then the other side of that is, like, I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to just do shit for attention. Like, you really just do. And as corny as that is, and, like, you know, sometimes when I just, like, take my shots, I'm attention farming.
But I think also you're like, even if you have an 80% hit ratio, I'm being spot on, because sometimes you're calling people out that, like, everyone else who read that post of that other person is, like, thinking the same thing, but no one's gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna say cringe on the
right. I'd be in the comments on some bullshit.
You're like, this is so cringe.
Yeah.
And I read that, and I instantly send you a Telegram message. I'm like, that was amazing.
I mean, dude, that's just coming from me, like, just, bro, I don't know. That's the jersey. Like, that's a chip on my shoulder, and just being like, I made it here on my own fucking 2 feet, and, like, you can't take this away from me, so I don't have to hold back anymore. Right. And, like, just coming from years of feeling that level of disrespect, and this might be all in my head, but, like, but I felt that level of disrespect in the corporate world, like, based on how I was treated in corporate environments. Clearly, it didn't manifest with people talking shit to me on public platforms. It manifested in other ways. But now that I'm free, now that I don't need to be on your fucking bullshit, now I can just fire away, right? So, again, like, I get that that's not a strategy I would tell anyone to do, but, like, the principle still remains of, like, yes, it helped get attention, and it helped people to say, okay, clearly he's doing something different. What is that thing? Right. And, like, to get people to even, like, think that deeply about recruiting, think about how crazy that is. Like, no one fucking cares what recruiters are doing. You know, like, it's just, you're making intros and they're getting hired. Great. To make them stop and think, what is this person doing differently? That's a powerful thing, you know?
You know what? The biggest impact I've seen, actually, this whole thing, like, perception is reality that I see. It's like people see, you know, you getting a lot of engagement, putting a lot of content out there. I can't tell you how many people that I don't know come up to me at a conference and be like, hey, I really like your content. Yeah. When people who I do know, before a meeting starts, like, hey, I love this post that you did on this topic. Or it's so fun. It keeps relationships warm. Agreed. Right? Over time. Even if you're not having the one-on-one conversation, you're one on many.
100%. Right?
It's like, you know,
they're keeping up with what you're up to in your professional. Like, yeah, we have Instagram. You can, like, do that in your personal, but on a professional, it's like, oh, like, yo, I've been watching you cook. Exactly. Like, keep going. You know what I mean?
And they become, like, they identify with your journey. Right? Agreed. Say, hey, I follow that guy. Like, I know other people don't know, so I'm in the loop.
Absolutely. Well, I guess, okay, point I want to make on this is, like, another thing that's worked tremendously well for me over the years is something I realized almost like by accident, trying to infuse as much of you as much of your personality genuine into the business. What I mean, another way, and let me say that again. what I really mean by that is like bringing things that you love outside of work, just things that you love, and sharing it with your people, right?
Yeah.
So for me, there's two examples of that are really like top of mind. One being like the DJ streaming stuff and the music stuff, like the way I speak, the way I, everything I do has a certain brand voice, a brand tone, and you could just feel the hip hop origin in that, like for whatever it's worth, as corny as that fucking sounds, it's the truth. So being able to do this live stream set where I'm sharing music that I love with people, having nothing to do with business, it's not really promoting up top. It's just me sharing what I love with my friends, you know?
Awesome.
The other thing, obviously, is the cigar nights. People fucking love my cigar nights.
Love it.
Like, it's such a unique experience that, like, I'm so many people's first cigar. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's an experience that they don't forget. Having nothing to do with up top, with recruiting, whatever, but bringing your passions to people, like, it lets them get to know you on a much deeper level. Yeah. You know?
I have a question for you on that topic, because I know you and I have spoken about this in the past. I'm sure it's been a journey, because for a long time, Dan is up top is Dan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, is that evolving? Do you feel like that's evolving?
Big time. Okay. One thing I'm really big on is like setting goals and intentions for the year.
Yeah. Okay.
And we do it as a team every year. And that's like really, really important to me. And my number one goal for this year was to make Up Top feel bigger than me and feel more than me. Right. And like one way that I'm trying to do that is like helping develop content strategies, different ones for each person on my team. Like I just brought back Will, who's like very well known on Twitter. He's like a crypto CT, like one of the most loved, you know? And then I have Marcus, right? And Marcus's strategy is a very data driven. We're going to do data reports. He's going to do videos around the data, you know? So have we reached where I want to go yet? No. And the other thing that I'm doing is, back to our conference thing, is me sitting out more and sending them out to the big
front
ones.
line,
to the big ones. Yeah, it's a push and pull for sure, because like, it's a push and pull, but that is very top of mind for me.
I think it's people undervalue. It's not said enough how important like putting content out and having personal branding is, at least in crypto. You know, it's like we were saying some of the benefits, like it helps you close deals. It really does.
100% it does. It makes people feel more comfortable that they know you. They know what you're about.
Exactly.
I know where your values are, you know? So I know what I can and can't trust you with.
Exactly.
So that's a big thing for me.
I agree.
In your short time experimenting with content and things like that, is there anything you've noticed is there any adjustments you've made or plan to make that, like, I don't know, like you've learned from feedback of, like, what's the feedback loop like?
Yeah.
So far?
The biggest thing for me is I've realized when I'm in person with someone, like in a casual conversation, I joke a lot more than when I'm like on LinkedIn. I felt like I was so serious. Yeah. And so I've started to become like, make a lot of my posts funny. Right. And like funny, but also like fact based. Right. And just, alluding to funny parts. For example, I wrote something about the 12 people you meet at a conference.
Oh, I saw that. That was pretty good, actually.
And it's like people like that. And people just want to talk about it. And it's like, it's funny because no one's talking about it, but it's so true, right? Yeah. Every conference you go, you see the same type of people. And this is the other thing, even it wasn't even actually on this post, is like when you're at a conference or people are wearing badges, do you notice the subtle look at the badge when you're talking to someone? Isn't it? But everyone does it, bro. Yeah. Everyone does it. Everyone goes to a conference and it's like looking at the badge is like, are you selling to me or am I selling to you? Right. Or are we, it's like you two dogs sniff each other. It's like if there's a fit, we're talking. If not.
That's so funny. Right? That's a meme right there.
That's a meme.
That's a meme right there for sure.
That's literally, so I want to spend more time doing stuff like that because there's so much. Yeah. There's so memes and so many memes.
I wish I was better at that shit, man. Like I sometimes I'll see the image and I'll be like, I can't think of the meme that I need to put for this, but I know it's there, you know? Yeah. And then I have friends who are so much better at this than me. Yeah. So sometimes I get some ghostwriting help, but I think it's important to like lean into your strengths and like, I'm not going to try to be the meme guy, although I wish I had that muscle. You know what I mean?
It's a great muscle to have.
Yeah, it is.
Muscle to have.
It is. But the fearlessness is my muscle. Like having no fear to just be extremely raw, that's my flex.
That's true, 100%. I mean, even to your early days, I remember you just didn't care about who, what, and you just kept the grind. And that honestly was a big inspiration for me when I was like, dude, you just keep going. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you put something.
But how does
out,
that feel when you? Okay, so on your end, like, so yeah, I remember that, and it honestly, I'll be honest with you, I still struggle a little bit with like this podcast, right? Is like, bro, the feedback that I get is so overwhelmingly positive,
Yeah.
you know, and like. I know that the right people see it. Like I just had a meeting with this woman named Dovey from Primitive, which is like a super, super, super fire, like, you know, VC based in Hong Kong. Like they've seeded like bangers, super bangers. And she said she has like 150,000 followers on Twitter.
Okay.
Doesn't follow me, but she said she's seen my podcast mad times, and it's like she gave me super flowers for it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's so dope. Like she's exactly the type of person that I want. Exactly. So, but I'm like, fuck, I really don't. I mean, my follower count doesn't move that much. Like my like count isn't crazy, and like I don't know. I struggle with this because I'm like, it bothers me, but should it bother me because it's effective, but I'm not feeling the, you know.
I totally get where you're coming from. I think the vanity metrics are vanity-ish, right? Like that. When you're putting out content, you need to measure it somehow, right? The way I've started measuring it is like if people are bringing it up every time that when I talk to them, I'm doing something right.
100%. That's the first signal, and I can relate. Like when that starts to happen, you're like, yeah, got it.
Yeah, then it's worth the time that I'm putting into it, right? Yeah, the likes, the follows, like that's okay. To be honest, every time I'm at a conference, meeting, public setting, even when I hop on a Zoom. A lot of times, like, oh, I've seen your content, like, you know, I really like this stuff, and that to me is the validation. Yeah, less about like how many likes or comments or whatever.
Are you thinking about anything deeper, like any other formats, like for the video stuff? Like, are you thinking?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about like doing formal recordings like this one, getting like. Studio time in Miami because there's tons of studios that you can just rent out.
All the OnlyFans girls that do podcasts now, like
exactly. Yeah,
they need somewhere to record. Yeah,
Miami's full of those.
Yep.
I've thought about other like content-based stuff, like doing like side event conferences.
Please don't do that shit. I fucking hate that. Please don't be that. You're not that corny, bro. No. You know what? There's a couple of formats that like I really like.
Okay.
But like. It doesn't work for me. And I've tried to like to the earlier point of like trying to put my team on. Like you can't force it though. And
but what is it?
Like a solo video with like a green screen in the background with information and weatherman style, like looking at and like doing that. I like that format.
Yeah.
I really want my guy Marcus to do that with our data reports. Like I think that's a great format. One thing that I'm actively trying to convince Will on my team to do right now, which I think would be so fire, is like I hate to copy off like the pop-in thing or whatever, but that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
That fucking Saratoga water guy, like, like, bro, no, I'm serious. Like, 8:30 a.m. log on to LinkedIn. Same video. Yeah, for like specifically for the whole life cycle of the recruiting thing. You know, log on to LinkedIn, send message. How long does it take for him to answer the message? How long does it take for him to get on the call with you? How long does it take for him to get placed?
Right.
What are all the bullshit in between? Like, I think that would actually be a cool content piece.
For sure.
But that's a lot of work that goes into that. And also it's people are not like, I mean, you're just getting comfortable stepping out on video. Like probably it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. And I actually, I'm curious, do you put your content out on TikTok, for example?
Nah, no? I can't, like, it's not within my soul. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. Yo, you know what's crazy is like, shout out Haley who edits this, our friend, like Haley and a bunch of other people always,
shout out to Haley.
Yeah, they always tell me like, yo, do this, like add these hashtags and all this bullshit. And I'm like, bro, it's not in my soul.
For you pages.
You know what I'm saying? it's not in my soul to like do corny shit for clicks. But I like, you're right. You know what I'm saying? That is the way to get the vanity metrics that I'm bitching about 100%. Right now. And I'm refusing to do the work. So it's like a very, there's a lot going on right there, you know? And I do know everyone in crypto is on TikTok, and I do know that these suggestions that my marketing people are telling me to do are correct. But like for me, it's just I'll die on the hill of it being so important to keep my raw, authentic brand that I just can't fucking do it, and I'll just accept what I get. And the other thing is like content for me at least. it's so personal because it's literally you and your voice that like it's hard for me to let go and allow someone else to take the reins with my content, to be like, oh, I'm gonna log in on this for you and do that. You know?
Totally. No, I get that. Potentially you'll go through a natural journey, but I could totally see you with a video guy just following you around at a conference. I think that is a cool content style. Just imagine someone comes with you, like a video producer, the whole, Gary V style.
Yeah.
And he just follows you around at Token or at ETH Denver just for a day or two.
Yeah.
And like, who are you talking to? Who are you dapping up? Like, what's going on?
You know me, I love a good dap.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, and the conversations you have are fluid, and it's like, it's real. Yeah. Is it not LinkedIn content? Who cares? Right?
I definitely don't care.
Right.
I don't see that at this point having much value for me, but I think maybe in the earlier days that would have been good. For me right now, I don't see it. But I could see it. I could see it for you. I could see that for you. But that's my thing. Is like there's a different format works for a different person.
Right.
But I do like for you. I feel like you're in this like getting to know you phase. Like people know you, but like you're reintroducing yourself as this. I'm not a banker. I'm like,
right.
Even though people who know you, but you know what I'm
Right.
saying? This is you're rebranding in a sense.
No, you're continuing the journey.
You're continuing this journey, right? But so my point being, like, I like the like just very intimate, personal, like talking to the phone, like no extra fancy cameras or anything involved. It's just like you just giving raw thoughts, and that is a couple of the things that I did like really, really early on. In fact, one of the best benefits from that, and this is before I ever had a real following, but I was just literally like I was doing like 4 to 5 minute videos on a specific topic, just dumping thoughts on it.
Right.
Which now in my refined content brain would realize, okay, no one's watching 4 minutes of me ranting about one thing for sure. But actually, some people did watch it. It actually helped me build
Where you post on YouTube?
on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, bro, my core team got built from people that saw those videos and was like, this is the kind of recruiting I want to do. You know, that's how I built my whole core team is through those videos. Solo rants. Another evolution, like content evolution for me was like, I mean, the reason that this podcast started was because I didn't understand what my clients were doing. So the goal was for me to interview you all about the deep technical intricacies of STATION70, of which I cannot fucking participate in this conversation, you know? And the lesson that I learned from that was like, that version was me trying to extract content that I thought my listeners wanted. Number one, I hadn't pulse checked them enough to know what they wanted. Right. Number two, it wasn't content that it wasn't good quality content because I couldn't participate in it. Right. You know? And so what I realized over time of that feedback loop, and I call this like the cringe era of my content where I just like was just blindly trying shit and it was missing. Yeah. But what I learned through that was like, okay, this podcast now is about like, I think what I want listeners to come away with or viewers to come away with is like, what does it feel like to work with Nate at STATION70? Like, what does it feel like to every day talk to Nate? What's he going to be like? What's the shit that matters to him? What's he going to be loose about or whatever? And what's he going to be like, no, we need it this way, you know? Like shit like that. And I think that I have accomplished that goal, and that is a much better, that's much better information for my viewers, you know?
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking about in terms of the content is like, you know, I'm still early in my journey. It's like I still don't have my first hater. And you have haters? Do you?
Yeah, for sure.
So you're more mature in that sense. How many non-crypto native viewers do you have? Like, are you, because I get this question a lot. People who are not in crypto who want to get into crypto. It's like, what's a good first job? Right? Of course, it depends on their career level. What's a good first job for someone who hasn't worked in crypto, they're crypto adjacent, they want to work in crypto? Like, where should they go?
If it's someone like from a bank or something like that, I would say like you should try to be like a low level whatever at like Anchorage or BitGo or Coinbase. Like you want to start because the same corporate rules apply, and it's like a segue in. So I would look if you're coming from TradFi in any way, shape, or form, I would look for a Web 2.5. How would you categorize STATION70? What category would you say it occupies? I know security is like the easy one.
Yeah, security is the easy one.
You're providing a service.
It's a software based. It's a SaaS company.
It's a SaaS company.
It's a SaaS company.
Yeah.
For sure it's a SaaS company.
So I think that actually is kind of a good place for like a Web 2 person to come into a SaaS space rather than like a chain or a Dex or whatever. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure. For sure. No.
I think a mistake would be like someone coming from a traditional background and going to some shitty chain that like was never going to make it anyway and thinking like this is your big moment in crypto. Like you haven't done the work to have the awareness that this is not making you look good. This is making them look desperate. You know, it's just a bad look for both.
I have seen some people make a transition from TradFi to an L1 or an L2. Very few and far between. Very hard to make that transition.
Yes.
But if you've been like, moonlighting as a crypto degen from your current job, you can.
Yeah, there's not a one size fits all answer to that question.
Right.
I don't know what content is right for those people. Like, and I guess by content, I don't know what platform is right for those people. Like, I know LinkedIn, sure, that's where they look for jobs. But I mean, you mentioned like TikTok and shit like that, which is where normal people go to consume normal content, I guess, and do you want to blend your content in with that? Or is it like, do you want to speak strictly to your small, like, target audience? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if you've seen this on TikTok, for example. There's this one guy that all he does is film himself. His business is like private jet bookings. Okay, I don't know. Have you seen this guy?
Probably, unfortunately, yeah. I don't know who it is. But.
Okay, no, I don't know his name or anything like that. Besides that, all he does is just share his day of the calls that he gets. Right?
I hate that shit. I can't do it. Yeah. Fucking loser. I can't.
But that's my point. It's like you can get people there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know what is your growth bottleneck? Is it like candidates or is it companies hiring?
I would say definitely candidates. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Bro, you think we have no shortage of homies referring us new
business.
Yeah.
That's so where are you getting the fresh meat? It's not easy.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Not in the bull market, at least.
It's not easy right now. Content, I don't expect to get new candidates, like real serious. I didn't know. At this point, no. At this point, it's just about. So I guess like where I am in my journey is like I'm not using content for the same thing anymore. I'm like at this point, to be completely honest with you, this content is more for you than it is for me in the sense of like I want to do this for you because I know I've worked hard to build this platform. I know this is going to be valuable for you or any other like new founder or whatever. And so like I want to do this for you. And the flywheel is like now you're my boy,
right? And
like now we're gonna do business together,
right?
So like, but that's very very different from where we started at, before it was like me, will you please, sir, will you please do this content for me, And so that's why I'm not doing any more like experimental new platforms and new shit. I got my lane, I'm cool with it. Also, like I think at this point, I don't need to like beat people's fucking over the head with like who is Dan and who is my.
Right.
They know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for you, I guess it's just like maintenance.
It's maintenance and just staying relevant.
Right, you stay relevant, exactly.
But for you, this is a new lane for you. So you want to find what's the most impactful and build the business. Like, because by the way, like the content built my business. There's no question about it. So like for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure most of the people that are gonna see this, hear this, whatever, never heard of me.
I hope so. I hope that that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, it's a new platform. So.
Yeah. Well, good, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, dude, I'm so happy that we're able to do this, man.
Me too.
And it's truly a beautiful thing, man, to have like built friends in the trenches and be able to celebrate new success with each other. You know what I mean?
The trenches.
Yeah.
I had to explain the trenches yesterday to someone. They didn't know.
Dude, if you've never been there,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Today we're feeling good. Like the markets are feeling like some people are getting out of the trenches. Which is nice.
Exactly.
But if you've never been down bad, welcome.
Don't worry. There's people entering right now in the cycle. The bear market, the 60K bear market for them is going to be.
That's right. It's been a long time coming, man. Thank you so much for being a good friend for all these years, and look forward to continued success with Station 70. Much love. We out here, y'all. See you next time.